Welcome into the PB&J Trench Talk podcast. We are back. We have been on hiatus for a while because, life happens. And we're back. We're doing a draft show today, Parker. I'm your host, Draft Guy Jared. That's your other host, Parker Blake.
Yes,
He's
sir.
the peanut butter to my jelly. Are you crunchy or smooth peanut butter guy, Parker?
Definitely crunchy. Definitely crunchy.
Okay.
And that's
All right.
such a
Good.
people hate
Good.
that take, but every fat guy is a crunchy peanut butter guy. Just
Yeah, I mean, I'm a crunchy fat guy.
it's better.
But yeah, we have a podcast. We're actually not going to talk about peanut butter and jelly today. We're going to talk about our personal favorite draft prospects coming up. Our favorite draft trench prospects coming up in the 2024 draft. We haven't talked in a really long time, so that we're just going to kind of shoot the shit and talk about these guys. So maybe. I mean, it's probably going to be pretty Bengals focused. I don't see why we wouldn't. I mean, we're Bengals fans. We like doing this. A lot of our followers and listeners are probably Bengals fans. So I think we should just make this as Bengal centric as we possibly can.
Well, and the best part about it is there's a trench problem in the league,
Yeah.
on both sides. So it's like really we could be Bengal centric, but it still applies to whoever the hell wants to listen to us ramble on about fat guys. So
yeah, exactly. We were talking about numbers earlier. I have over 80, I think, total prospects watched currently for the 20 all trench guys. They're all pinned in my tweets. Or my posts. I guess we're not legally allowed to say tweets anymore.
Posts. You gotta repost stuff now.
Yeah, if you guys want to follow along, so you can scroll on your phone if you're listening. We're obviously going to put this on YouTube. You won't be able to see any of this because I'm not doing that. I don't remember how to do any of that stuff. I was so good at doing the video breakdowns and stuff. Maybe we'll get to that after the draft. Maybe we'll break down some team fits and stuff. That would be fun.
I would love that.
Yeah. Planning the show on the show.
Yes,
sir. So we'll do that. So for our loyal listeners, way back on episode 6, me and Parker made a bet that the next time we're on a show together, whoever won the UK Louisville game, the loser would have to wear that shirt on the podcast. And as you can see, Parker is not wearing red.
No, sir.
Today is the second day of the NCAA tournament. Last night, the University of Kentucky lost to Oakland. So I will proudly wear my loser Kentucky shirt on today's show. I hope all of you are watching the YouTube for that at least. I'm just going to post pictures of this. I'm going to leave this up just for you. I might make this my profile picture just for you, Parker. I love you so much. Thank you for my shirt. You sent me another one that was very graphic, and I am never putting that one on.
I was just scrolling through shirts because I was like, oh, I got to find something good to send him, but I got to find something he can wear on the show. And then I was like, I got to send him a little treat of my own. No, I gotta say it's 100% my fault that the timing worked out to where you get to celebrate a Kentucky loss while wearing it. So that's my fault, and I gotta own that. But you're still wearing the shirt, and I'm counting that as a win.
Yes, I'm a man of my word. So let's get into the draft, Parker. It's been 1 week since you looked at me.
All longer than that.
Oh gosh, I wonder who. We were talking about Brandon Coleman and Kingsley Suamataia.
Yes, we were.
Last time we did any kind of film breakdown. We've updated so much since then. So I think one of the best things we can do for the listeners is to talk about some of our favorite trench players in this draft. So let's kind of go position by position, what you like, tier by tier. Let's do it by that way. So we'll go your top tier, your favorite guy in your top tier of offensive tackles. Let's start there, Parker. Who is the guy you would pick at offensive tackle if you had your like pick of the litter?
I mean, if I'm getting any of these guys, I'm taking Joe Alt because Joe Alt is the perfect prospect. However, I have to say, I think my favorite guy that I consider like in kind of like that first round tier, since we all know Alt's the best guy in the draft. It's not close.
That's the
for me.
boring answer.
He's the guy. I don't want to be the boring answer. I gotta talk about my guy Guyton. I got to talk to him a little bit down in Mobile. I got to watch him live. He's a massive human. I was sitting in the room on media day, and him and Patrick Paul came in side by side, walked into the room and walked right past me. And I never felt so small in my entire life.
You are not a small man. We've met in real life. You are not a small man.
I like to think I'm above average size and multiple width and height. But they walked in and I was like, oh wow, that's why.
That's what here, NFL size is.
But I love his frame. I love his length. I think he uses his length really well. I talk all the time. It feels like this season about guys that might have the length but play like they don't, and like just they try and limit that space and they don't really keep guys away from them. I think Guyton does a really good job of that. I love his feet. Got really great feet, footwork, moves well in space. I think he struggles in the run game, but I think it's also he's got not great hand placement. Punches a little wide. He's a wider frame, so that'll happen. You got to kind of tune that up. And he plays a little tall. But outside of that, I just love him, and I think he's really moldable. I know I've heard people talk about him being an older prospect, but I think if you look around at guys that watch the position and know a lot about it, they'll all say the same thing, where if you get him in the right room or under the right coach, he's a very moldable prospect that a coach is going to love, and he should be in the league for quite some time, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like Guyton. I don't have him in my tier 1 of offensive tackles, but I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I think he has the right demeanor in the run game. And he is a bigger guy. Like playing in the Big 12 and those defenses, they have a lot of smaller defenders. So I can totally understand what you're saying when like people complain about his hands being wide, but really he's just a giant human being, and it's hard to get your hands inside of little guys,
like punch across his chest.
Yeah, and it like that puts him at a leverage disadvantage. I will say I think he needs to improve his inside hand. I think that's his biggest issue. It always kind of ends up pretty high and outside. So if he could clean that up, and I think that's just an experience thing, he just needs to work on shooting that inside hand. And he's probably right hand dominant, so that's probably his offhand. He's still learning the position. I am a little concerned that he's older. I don't like Oklahoma's offense. It does not translate very well to the NFL. So I don't see him. The reason he's not a tier 1 guy for me, because I agree, physically, all of the attributes and stuff, everything you want, the athleticism, the play strength, the length, all of that is incredible with Guyton. It's really just he needs experience and he's older. Like that's the biggest knock on him.
Yeah, and I think the part of his game that I appreciate the most is like everyone talks about the hand issues, but no one talks about how well he can mirror guys. And like you talk about the inside hands, he can struggle in pass protection, but he also covers guys up really well with his feet, with his hips. He can get his body in front of guys consistently and effectively. And that's where it's just like the hands will come with experience, as like you talked about. I mean, that's going to come. But the fact that he's already developed from the waist down and can move his feet well, can mirror well, and stay in front of guys, stay on guys, that's just what put him above a lot of these other guys for me, because I feel like there's a lot of prospects in this class that struggle either staying on blocks or even just tracking guys at the second level and getting to that block. And I feel like that's something that he has above a lot of guys in this class. But who's your guy? Who's your guy, Jared?
Well, I just want to add, like, it feels like his foundation is set. Like, he has a very good foundation. His relationship and pass protection between him and the quarterback it always feels like he knows where the quarterback is. And that is such a hard thing to coach. Like, that either guys have that feel or they don't. And I feel like Guyton has that feel. So,
for sure.
Great call on that. If we're going tier 1 guys for me, I got to talk about my guy, Troy Fautanu. from Washington, the left tackle. I have been on him since August. I have said I think he's a tackle since August, and everybody has said because of his stature and stuff, but he is a tier 1 tackle for me. His movement skills, his hands, his processing ability on stunts and pickups and what's going on in front of him. I feel like he knows the defense probably just as good as the quarterback. Like he's reading it just as good as the quarterback, even if it's not like from the same position and whatnot. But I feel like he can pick up what the defense is trying to accomplish just as well as he knows how his offense operates. And I think that's such an important thing for an offensive lineman. I don't see him just as a tackle. I think he's 5-position flexible, but I think he could be one of the best tackles in the NFL. He said he models his game after Rashawn Slater, which is awesome because that's exactly how he plays. Yeah. He's nasty. He's athletic. He is everything that I would want if I were drafting a tackle for an NFL franchise.
No, he's an incredibly high IQ player. And it's funny because it's like there's guys that can be high IQ linemen, but you don't necessarily see that on film because it's just not tested a lot. Especially like you get some of these interior guys that are really high level, like thinkers and processors, but you can watch him kind of, like you said, break down defensive games and what coverage is doing, how it's going to affect his job. And then he's got such a high level of athleticism where he can adjust to that. And then it makes it look so easy. He makes everything look so easy. He's a smooth mover. He's a quick mover. And that's, I think the thing that's killed me the most about like the conversation around Fautanu is that people are bagging him for being short, even though he's got longer arms than some of people's favorite tackle prospects.
Exactly.
And it's like, I don't understand, like, and maybe this is just me being ignorant, but I don't understand like where in the trenches you'd prefer the taller guy, because you want the guy with natural leverage, right? And so if you have the length to play tackle, and then you have the natural leverage to get underneath guys and lift them up, why would you not at least let him fail at tackle before bumping him inside? Don't just slate him as a guard. Like he's going to be able to play tackle at a high level in the NFL, even if he is only 6'4" or less than 6'5". I mean, if you want to get into the nitty gritty, but he's got the 34+ inch arms, and he uses his length really well. Like you can tell on film that he has appropriate length because he's just like all these other bigger tackles, just in a smaller, more compact frame. And so I wish he had a better anchor. I think he can get bold sometimes, and I think he's athletic enough and runs his feet well to kind of counter that action. But if he's just trying to sit on pressure and just he can get like kind of back down into the pocket. But that's kind of the only major flaw I really saw in his game that I like to see him develop a little bit. But he's got time, and again, pull it a bit more weight on, get a little stronger. He's going to be just fine.
Yeah. I think another thing, like he varies his pass sets really well to counter bulls. Like you can watch him over the course of a game. Like if he starts getting bullied and kind of bulled by a guy, he'll change up his sets. He'll take the fight to him. He'll start swatting down hands. Like he is so fun for me to watch.
Well, he's really good with that trap. Like, I mean, I know you've highlighted that, but like again, he can counter the bull because he uses his length really well. He can time up that trap really well where they can't really get good hands on before they're on their face. And I just, again, you can see that IQ throughout his entire game. Watch him adjust, and he's just a fun guy to watch, man.
Yeah. He's like, he and another player we'll talk about here very soon are probably two of my favorite prospects ever that I've watched. So let's move to interior offensive linemen. Who do you want to talk about in your tier 1 of interior offensive linemen?
I got to talk about my guy, Zach Frazier, because Zach Frazier's a guy, the second I watched this film, I was like, I'm just going to love this guy. And I know he's a little lower on boards. He's been my center 1 through the entire process just because he has the demeanor, he has the IQ, he has the athleticism. I wish he would stay more square in protection, but it's because he's always looking for work. He's flipping back and forth between his guards trying to find somebody. I think he finishes plays excellently. Like he has the demeanor, the mentality that I want out of an interior lineman. He also has that wrestling background. He has, like I said, the athleticism to move around at the second level effectively, get hands on guys. And he has decent power in the run game. He's not a massive road grader, people mover, but he's able to, hand off doubles and make sure they're secured and then move on. Like he's just a very efficient player. And you don't see that a lot, like especially with the center position, especially at the NFL where there's a lot of guys that were converted. It's not a lot of guys that were centers. He's a good true center that I feel like is very efficient and can really just understands his role in the game.
Yeah, he's an incredibly fluid athlete. And like it feels like some of the best parts about Frazier is like he hasn't even like he's not close to his ceiling yet. It feels like he can get to such a better level, and he's already done some really impressive stuff. So I totally agree with that. I want to talk about my favorite center, Jackson Powers Johnson from Oregon. I think he's a nasty, mean, tone setting, just a hoss. I feel like JPJ is the kind of center like you can build a line around. Like you want guys like that want to line up next to JPJ. I don't really like he's like we can get into the technical stuff. Like he sets an extremely firm pocket. He is very quick with his hands. He does all of like the little things already where he'll change snap timing on silent counts and stuff to get guys to jump or to jump on like 3 techs if they're running in the zone or something. Like he does a lot of subtle things that I really like about the center position. But my favorite thing is his ability to adjust on the fly. There are a lot of times you'll see him out in space or he'll be picking up a late stun or something, and he just will completely change what he's doing for the better of the play. Like he'll take like a guy scraping over the top to make a backside run stop. He'll just take that guy and send him out of the play. Yep. He does a lot of fun things on film, and he's one of the biggest centers I think I've ever evaluated coming straight from college. And I wish we would have seen him test. Like he's been kind of dealing with injuries and stuff, and that's kind of a concern. But I wish we would have seen him test, so I could really kind of put my stamp on him. But man, he is definitely my top rated center.
Yeah, that hammy has been bugging him for a while. Like he pulled out of the Senior Bowl because of it, and then now he's not testing because of it. And it's just like I don't know how big of a deal that is, if he's just trying to be really cautious or whatever it is. But I mean, yeah, I would have loved to see him test because I think overall his athletic profile is something that I really want to just kind of lock in for my evaluation, especially with a guy his size. Like if you can get a solid athletic profile, he's just really just a home run. And that's where it's like I went to a coach's clinic recently and talked with the Oregon. I think he's the assistant O-line coach, not the head guy. The head guy's not going to the clinic. Let's be real.
not your clinic.
But he walked through a bunch of like kind of the techniques they work and the drills they work and kind of the points of emphasis they have in their program. And after I kind of went through that day-long clinic with him, I went back and just watched some more Oregon guys just to see if I could see it pop up. And something that he does really well, like you say, he does all the little things well. Something he does well that I don't think is appreciated at all is the way he can eject guys, whether it's in pass protection or run blocking. He's able to not just hand guys off to the next guy or kind of like hold the line while the double team's taking over. He does a great job of moving guys along so he can move throughout the play. And like you said, almost sacrificing like his MO for the better of the play. And again, just another high IQ guy that can see stuff happening, is aware of what's going on around him, and can just adjust to that really well. And it's the little things like that where you love guys that can do that at the college level, because at the NFL, when the game's so fast, if you're already a high level processor, you're going to come into the NFL more ready for NFL speed and able to really not almost avoid that rookie slump if possible. So I think he's a very, very, very high floor player. I'm just not sure where his ceiling is, but obviously a tier 1 guy.
I was trying to think of, Geodude in Pokemon. What's the next evolution of Geodude? I can't remember his name.
Oh man, I'm not the Pokemon
But that's what
guy.
Jackson Powers Johnson is built like.
It's true.
He's built like he's like the arms. He's a boulder with arms and legs. Like,
he's the big square, man. He's a big square. Awesome. I love that. Best comp of the year right there.
I wish I could remember his name. Who's your tier 1 interior defensive lineman you want to holler at?
I need to talk about Byron Murphy, even though he's like one of the two guys.
All right.
Because I think there's a tier 1 and it's 2 guys, and then there's a tier 2 that's a bunch of guys, and then Lord knows what happens in tier 3.
My tier 2 is large.
Yeah, it's a significant group.
Yeah, it's a good group.
It is. but they don't really compete with the top two, I think. And that's where
Mhm.
I spent a lot of time going back and forth because you had me on the Newton train for a long time. And I just feel like Murphy is just Newton in a bigger body. I just feel like I like that better from the interior because I think Newton's a great gap shooter. He's really strong against the run. But I just think Murphy does all the same things, but he's better against the run. And that is why I've decided to make him my guy, my number one guy in the tier one, is because I feel like he's going to be more stout at the next level, not as much of the crazy three tech pass rusher, but he's
I
more, he can be
think
versatile, play the A gap, play the B gap, be strong against the run, has good hands, carry on.
I think Newton is technically bigger.
Is he?
Yeah, I think Newton's like 6'2".
I haven't updated my board in a minute. This is gonna be embarrassing. This is gonna be embarrassing if Jared owns me right here.
Hold on. I don't know where his official. I want to say he measured at Illinois Pro Day at like 6'2", 302 or something like that.
Don't make me Google this right now.
I'm trying to pull up Murphy.
NFL Combine.
Oh yeah, I guess he would have weighed in at the combine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Byron Murphy's only 6'2", 297 at the combine.
You only came in at 6 foot? I hadn't seen his combine measurements. I should have done my research, Jared. You got me. Got the tape. It's over. And I'm back, flip-flopping again. But yeah, no, I love him as a prospect. I liked him next to Sweat. I think he can get in a system where he doesn't have to be the every down guy, and he can be kind of your situational, just throw a guy in, whether it is a run stopping three tech or a pass rushing guy. But I don't think he's going to have the longevity to be an every single down type of defensive tackle. But I think he's able to get nice, high quality reps when he is in. So I don't know. I like Murphy. I like the vibes. He didn't break his foot.
I am a huge Johnny Newton fan. I don't care if his foot is we amputated. I think he's still gonna be the best defensive tackle in this draft. He just like whoops guards' asses. Like he fights their hands so well. He plays with such pop and like such great get off. He does a great job. I think a lot of people are saying he's not a good run defender. I think he probably reads run concepts as a defensive lineman as like better than most of the prospects I've ever watched. Like I don't know where that's coming from.
I didn't say he was a bad run defender.
I know. It's just like one of those things that's floating out there. And I'm like, I don't think that's necessarily true. I think the people that know that he is a good run defender are the ones that are like, how come if he's not in the top 20? Like, what is happening here? Because there's like a whole group of people on Twitter that are like, what is happening? Like, what is,
well,
what
it's because he's been like putting
know?
this. I feel like there's like three groups this year, but there's like three groups of interior defensive linemen, and it's like the nose tackles, and then like the pass rushing three techs, and then like kind of the hybrid guys. But I feel like no one's acknowledged that middle group when they're trying to like section guys off, and I feel like that's where like they all have Murphy as like the run stopping guy, and then they have Newton as the pass rushing guy. But really, they're both good at both. However, if you want to watch a pass rush, a hand fighting, a pass rush plan, just an expanded toolbox clinic, just watch Newton's tape because again, it's like the first note I think on his profile for me, but it was like he's hard to touch. Like you can't get hands on him at all ever.
Yeah, and if you do, he's gonna hit them, and then it's gonna hurt.
They're gone. It's like he's crazy. I love that guy, man. He's fun to watch.
Him and Troy Fontanu are probably two of my favorite prospects I've ever watched. Like hands down, two of the most fun. Like I just like absolutely fell in their tape. Could watch it like all night long. It's my favorite stuff on the planet. So like Johnny Newton I wish I could put him as my number one player on my big board. I don't have the heart to do it, but I really want to. I want everybody to know I really want
to. Take him at two, Jared. Take him at two.
But yeah, huge Johnny Newton fan. He's my ideal one. I don't care what anybody says. Let's move on to Edge,
I had to
Parker.
find a way to justify Murphy. Put me in a really tough spot there, bub.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you're fine. It's fine.
It's
funny though because they're both great. Anyway, Jared Verse is my Edge one because I just love watching his film. To be quite honest, I think there's like this tier one of edges, and they're all like extremely different. There's not like a similar profile at all in that top group for me. They're all very different styles of players, and I guess it depends on who you have in that tier. But I think Jared Verse is my favorite to watch because he plays with such good leverage, but then has so much strength, and not just from like popping his hands, but just he can generate so much strength from his lower body where he can lift guys onto their tiptoes or off the ground and just throw them into the pocket. Like the number of quarterbacks he sacked with offensive tackles was outstanding. It was absolutely outstanding. And it was like, I don't care if you don't. I think there's a lot. I've seen a lot of people talk about how he has a limited toolbox as far as pass rush moves. He's not a developed pass rusher, but I'm like, I don't really care if you can pick up the tackle and throw him into the quarterback. That's the only move you need. So
yeah, he doesn't like. People are like, oh, he doesn't need to. Like, like some players just don't need to. And Jared Verse is definitely
off the ball, and he's incredibly strong. That's pretty much that's what makes for good tape, and I love it.
Yeah, I just rewatched him not too long ago, and I moved him to Edge 1. Yeah. His 23 tape is a whole nother level.
Phenomenal.
I feel like he started the season slow, and that's why I was kind of lower on him, especially after I went and watched my who was my number one Edge, and he's probably still my favorite is Chop Robinson. Yeah. But I watching the Verse, I was like, man, I gotta move him over Chop. It's like I can't ignore it anymore.
Right after my mid-season re-eval, it was like, is this a top 5 guy? And then I did my postseason like building the profile out, and I was like, oh no, this is the guy.
Everybody keeps putting Dallas Turner to the Falcons. Get Jared Verse. I'm pretty sure he's from Georgia too. Like, get Jared Verse. All right, let's move into our tier 2 of guys here.
You don't want to brag about Chop? You don't want to brag about Chop a little bit?
Oh yeah. Sorry, good point.
You're good. I like Chop. I can't get sold on him, so I want you to sell me.
Well, he's he's super athlete. He's definitely got the best first step in the entire class. There's nobody that can get off the get off the ball and turn the corner like Robinson. He can get to the quarterback in a flash. And like the reason he was my Edge 1 for so long is because nobody else in this class has the juice that Chop has. Like, hands down, nobody when they're on the field can hold a candle to Chop Robinson. And I swear if he goes in like where the range that everybody's projecting him in, like the 25 to 35 range, whoever gets him, if he goes to like a contender, like my favorite fit personally, because everybody is slower on him, is to Detroit.
There you go. Because
him, Aiden Hutchinson, DJ Reader, Alim McNeil, like that is the scariest front I would never want to face. So like, I'm a huge Chop Robinson fan. I think if everybody is worried about his size and his run defense, you're thinking about the wrong things. Like worry about him rushing the passer. And if people just saw those things, I think he'd be a top 15 player.
Well, it's like a Will McDonald, right? Just make him a pass rush specialist.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pedal to the floor 25-8. Like he's going nonstop all the time.
And he's not 25 years old, 26 years old like Will McDonald was.
No, he is not.
Whatever that was. Oh my gosh, that was
Grandpa
awful.
McDonald. Old McDonald.
When that scrolled last year, when there was like do 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 do, the New York Jets select Will McDonald. It was one of those. I was like, ooh. That was a little early. It was a little earlier than I thought. Yeah. So, I'm not a big fan of this Edge class. I think that, like there's like in my top tier. Gosh, I don't think I'd have. Well, I don't know. I don't remember the last year's class. None of them are close to Will Anderson. Not
competitive.
Yeah. So like, and we were talking about it before the show, but like, there's a point, and it's after Adisa Isaac, where just don't
That's literally my line. Adisa Isaac, and then a bunch of guys I don't really feel like watching. Is what it started.
Well, it's Adisa Isaac. There's like a couple like athletes who are older and have like good traits and stuff, but bad film. And then like,
well, it's like you get into like the. Do I want to watch Jalix Hunt? Do I want to watch Nelson Caesar? Do I want to like? It's like,
you don't. I
know who you are. I know who you are.
Yeah. Anyway. All right, let's get into our tier 2, guys. I kind of split the way I did this because I like keeping things fairly even in my brain. I kind of split my tier 1 of tackles. So I actually have 8 tier 1 tackles, but they're like 1A and 1B. So okay. I'm going to go through my 1B here.
For sure.
They'll probably, because how many tackles do you think go in the first round?
Dude, I've said it's anywhere from like 4 to 9. Like it depends on how crazy the NFL wants to like value.
I've got 8. I've got 8 that I feel solid about. I have 8, and that includes Fautanu, who's a tackle.
Does it include Barton?
9 if you include Graham Barton. So
there you go.
So I wanted to break this up. So Parker, who do you want to talk about in that, like, let's just call them the late first guys?
So I've kind of split mine up weird because Joe Alt totally jacked my system. So I have like Joe Alt as like tier 0, where he is like in his own planet. And then I had like my tier 1 guys where it's like I'm the same way as you, honestly. I have like my tier 2 and 3, honestly, because like, you know, Joe Alt tier. And then tier 2 and 3, but it's really a lot of those guys I flip all the time. And that's where it's like I have like my tier 2 is a bunch of like, you know, Guyton, Latham, like kind of all those the typical names are Fashanu, everyone's talking about. But I think a lot of my favorite tackles are kind of at the top of my tier 3. So I was gonna grab my guy. I was gonna bring up in kind of this round-ish area was Patrick Paul. Just because, again, love the size profile, love the upper body strength, love the length, love the demeanor, because he hates everybody that's ever decided they thought about playing defense at one point. He just hates you automatically. However, he's lower because he plays with straight legs, doesn't seem to like know how to bend his knees. I worry about his athletic profile. But it's like my film grade on him was insane because it was like all of like the things that I categorize as like traits as far as like, you know, finishing, motor, just kind of that stuff. He tested off the charts because it's just, again, he runs all the time. He finishes every single play.
Yeah.
The whistles, echoes, echo. And so it's just like, I love that stuff, but I have concerns with like his, again, athletic profile. Does he have flexibility issues? Is that going to be an injury concern? Like, kind of where does he go? And then, I mean, I talked to him in Mobile, and it was like a bunch of people were, including myself, were asking him about like, oh, are you comfortable playing right tackle? Are you training both? Like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, I'm training both, but if I'm going to play right tackle, it's going to be like a while. And I'm like, I think he profiles better as a right tackle just because of the athleticism issues, because I worry about him handling, you know, some of the severe angles that some of these NFL guys can get to. But again, great length and great arm strength. Like if he punches you, it stops you. Like he's got a slug for a punch. So it's just like, I don't know. I love the prospect and what it could be, but I also worry like from, you know, the hips down. I'm like, who even are you as a player? It's like you feel like Villanueva. So
okay, yeah, that I actually kind of like that comp. That's a kind of a good one. Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying about Paul. I have issues with his wide clapping punches. Yeah. That always kind of bugs me on film. But you're right. Like, he's a nasty dude. He plays with plenty of power. He's always finishing. He puts a lot of fun stuff on tape, so it's hard to be like, I don't know about all that, because he you can tell he loves playing tackle. Like, it's one of
like his highlight reel is awesome, but then it's like you watch
yeah.
the film and it's like, yeah. You want to see bad hands, don't watch Guyton, go watch Paul. But
yeah, and it's like one of those, it's like he's so big, like somebody's gonna take him and he could still be extremely effective. Like, I'm not saying he's gonna be a bad tackle. He's got a lot of stuff to clean up, but it like there's a like you can see the obvious path for his success at the next level. So yeah, I totally agree with Patrick Paul.
Fix his hands, Duke. You can do it.
Yeah, you can do it. How about we just kind of move through and pick some of our other guys, kind of moving through the tiers. I'll pick one of my tackles. It's in the same kind of tier for me. I actually have him ranked above Patrick Paul for me, and that is Roger Rosengarten, right tackle from Washington. It is not just Washington, I promise. I will talk about other players.
Just pick all the Joe Moore guys, Jared.
but Rosengarten is a huge right tackle. Played in a pass-heavy offense, so he's always pass protecting. He has super light on his feet for someone who's like, what is he, 6'5", 6'6", 310, 320. Yeah. Big old dude. Great hands. Only 21 years old. He's just an absolute treat to watch because he's always like trying new techniques. He's always trying to get on top. Like you can see him. He's not all the way there with like the processing and all of that kind of stuff. He can get duped on stunts. He can get pulled inside pretty easy. But overall, like because we're talking about early second round, maybe late second round. I don't know. His projections all over the place. I have him as an early second round grade personally.
People that have him as day 3, and I'm like, how does he get to day 3?
These mock drafts are like picking him in the hundreds. I'm like, there's no way. Like my eyes are bad. They're very bad, but they are not that bad, man.
I'm not missing that much. I promise.
Yeah. We were talking about it earlier. Like he's the one. I don't know what it is where people tell me he's bad, and I just like get viscerally angry. It's like he's not bad. He's just 20 years old and playing college football. Like,
he's a child.
Right. Quit yelling at the kids. so yeah, he's definitely one of my guys. I'm a huge Rosengarten fan.
Yeah, like I was talking to you about before the show. I mean, you put me on him early, and I've gotten to the same point where it's like I don't understand what people see when they talk about him as such a bad prospect. Like, oh, he's a day 3 swing, or oh, did you watch that Michigan game where he looked horrible for like 2 drives? Like, let's go watch the Michigan game. Like, actually watch the Michigan game and tell me he looked awful during the end. He looked really good against a very good defense. So I mean, I love the guy, and that's why I wanted to let you go off about Rosengarten because you are the founder of the Rosengarten fan club, and I'm glad I'm part of it.
Thanks, man. Let's move to our next tier of interior linemen. Who you got as your favorite for like the day 2 guys?
I have to talk about Christian Haynes, even though I love pretty much everybody in this day 2 group.
It's such a good group. Such a good group.
You could throw a dart at a board, and I'd probably love that guy. Could go on about him for about an hour. Like it's crazy. But Christian Haynes, very undersized, but again, another guy just like Paul. That's where I feel like a lot of these guys kind of in this tier-ish area for me are, where it's just guys that I loved your film, and then you have just deficiencies that I don't really know like how much I care about versus what other people are going to care about. So you just kind of end up in this middle group. But Christian Haynes, a high-level athlete, another dominant finisher, a high motor guy. And again, he's very undersized, and that's why I've talked a lot about I want to see him as a center. They had him snapping down in Mobile, and that was like the first time I saw him line up with a quarterback behind him. I was like, yes, thank you, please. This is where he needs to be. But I love everything about his game. I wish he wasn't so eager to leave in protection because I feel like he's, again, just loves hitting people. I talked to him one-on-one, and it was just like everything he talked about was just like, man, I just love getting after. I love being in the trenches. I love just getting involved and just being involved in every play in my own little world as opposed to like the grand scheme of things. I can just hit dudes and move on and hit another dude and just keep rolling. And I was like, hell yeah, bro. That's exactly what I'm here for. But then again, on film, it's like it might be sliding left, but like he'll like check. And if there's no one immediately that I can punch in the face, I'm going to run over there and see if I can go punch that guy in the face. So I love the profile, and I just, as a player, he just seems like he's a fun guy to watch. So I have to throw him in.
I thought it was cool the other day when I was watching Tyler Guyton. snuck over to your Twitter profile because I remember you did an interview with Tyler Guyton and both him and Christian Haynes because they were training together. And I was oh man, how cool would it be if like the Bengals put more value in like that relationship and brought those two guys in, like because they're friends.
Well, it's like I talked about down in Mobile, like whether it was like during like just Indy where they're working like combos together, or it was during like the team drills, or they had that, like, it's not one-on-ones, but it was like combo, like against the nose, stop the combo or split the combo or whatever. But whenever they were together, they were literally the best two people on the entire field. They had already had so much great chemistry, and when I interviewed them both separately, they both talked about the other guy and how much they enjoyed working out with them and how much they've learned from the other guy and that relationship. Like, I've been saying ever since then, go get Tyler at 18 and then go get Christian at 49 and call it a day. That's all you need. That's all you need.
I mean, I feel like that's another thing people don't realize. Like, that chemistry is so important. Like, you need guys like to come in and want to like come into work and work with each other. Like, it's so important. So, yeah, I love Christian Haynes too. I haven't watched too much of him. Thankfully, from a good friend of mine, just got some Christian Haynes film, so I will be diving into it here post haste. So I'm really excited too, and I'm glad you brought him up.
He's a fun watch, man.
I want to talk about Cooper Beebe.
I'm so glad.
I've been such a big Cooper Beebe fan for like the past 2 years, and now he's finally coming out in the draft. And man, I pulled up the Texas film. Was it last night? 2 nights ago? And he put like one of the first pass pro reps I watched. And he just like snatched the crap out of T'Vondre Sweat. I was like, "Oh my boy! Oh, I love you!" So totally took me back. I am all in on Cooper Beebe. Wherever he goes, I kind of want a jersey. What a fantastic name, Cooper Beebe. Cooper. I could say it 10 billion times. Cooper Beebe.
It flows well. It's gonna look good with a nice 50 or 60 number underneath it.
Oh yeah.
Like he's built to be a lineman, man. He's a 50 right now. Yeah.
Yeah, he needs that.
But I remember it took me a long time to get there because I remember you did the stream last year when you thought he was coming out, and I was like, Jared, I don't see it with this guy. I remember even we watched that game together, and it was like, oh, this is a rough. I don't know what to say.
It was the Oklahoma game last year. Yeah. He like rolled his ankle. We were like,
but then like even this, watching his film, I'm like, I don't know. He doesn't feel like a great athlete, but he's great at staying square. Has great strength in the run game. Runs his feet through. Can get to the second level and handle himself. Like, he's a solid prospect, but I don't know. And then he tested like an absolute animal.
Yeah.
Like, well, he might not move well on the film, but he has the ability to. We just got to unlock that somehow. Maybe they're just telling him to process slower at K-State or whatever it may be.
I think they just slow play it. Like he's just moving things. Like, it's all moving so slow for him. It just looks like he's moving slow.
I am amped. I love him now. Like, I'm there. I have gotten there.
Yeah, big Cooper Beebe fan. So let's move on to your tier 2 of interior defensive linemen, and this is a big group, and I'm very excited to talk about them. I might hit a couple of guys here because I'm such a big fan.
That's fine. Hit as many as you want, brother. I have to talk about Michael Hall because I love Michael Hall. I loved him on film. I could not wait the second I saw that he was actually participating in Mobile, because once I saw Murphy was out, I was like, oh, Hall, please stick around. I need to watch you live because I just love watching your film. And he was just explosive, man. He is an explosive interior defender that he can meet running backs at the mesh point. He can blow offensive linemen off the ball. He's got really good hands. Big fan of Michael Hall Jr.
We both know there's only one real reason he's in tier 2 is because of the injury history.
Right.
And he's also a little undersized, but man, Michael Hall, he's a baller.
He's
every time
one of those tweeners, man. There's a ton of tweeners in this interior D-line group, and he's one of them, and I don't care where he plays because he's just, it's that there's so many guys in this class that are so explosive off the ball. It's just like, just let him go. I don't care where he's at. Just let him go.
underrated run defender too. Extremely stout at holding the point of attack. Yeah,
he just anchors. He punches and anchors, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah, it just looks like he's like so rigid. Like, you're not moving that dude.
I don't care what you weighed in at because you can do that.
Yeah, exactly. I want to talk about Rook Orhorhoro. Rook, he's been my favorite Clemson player for like 3 years. Before, like Brian Brzee, Miles Murphy, and all of those guys that have been through their program, Rook has been my favorite because like he's one of those guys you just like watch steadily get better and better. And this past season, man, he was the dude on that Clemson front. He was their nose tackle. He was their 3 technique. He was pushing pockets. He was stopping runs. He was doing it all for the Tigers. And I thought he was going to be like a sneaky athlete. I did not think he was going to be like 99th percentile athlete. So, yeah, man, I'm all in on Rook. I don't think he I have said he's a top 50 player this entire process, and I'm standing on it, man. I don't think he's getting past pick 50 in this draft.
We need Jared in the front office so we can get a defensive line with Rook Orhorhoro and Chop Robinson together.
That would be good.
I want to see that TE stunt, man. That's all I want to see in the world.
Yeah. I also want to talk about Mekhi Wingo real quick. He was injured this last year. That's the reason for me he's in this tier. But super explosive athlete. He's a 3-tech gap penetrator. Also super stout in the run. Plays extremely disciplined. They have rush lane. Last season in 22, they had like specified rush lanes and stuff for their defensive tackles, and Mekhi just absolutely worked those rush angles, rush lanes, all of that stuff. He was a team captain this past year, wore the 18 for LSU. Like, he's, from everything I've heard, he's an incredible leader off the field. So I'm sold on Mekhi Wingo. He tested like a freak at the combine, looked incredible in like the positional drills they had him going through. So I'd say he's all the way back from his injury. Yeah, man, I'm 100%. He's another one of my. He's like small Johnny Newton. Like, he's a little bit smaller, and he was injured, and I think that's the only thing like knocking him right now.
Well, we got to talk about Old Man Fisk if we're just going to roll through this entire second tier, man. I don't know where you have him.
Fisk, yeah, he's in my second tier. He is behind Rook and Chris Jenkins.
Okay. I love his motor, man. He doesn't stop.
Yeah, no.
He doesn't go very fast, even though he can.
Yes.
But I think he does, like, he'll work 15 different moves until he beats you if he's got the ability. He just is tenacious, and he'll run through your face. He'll attempt to run around you. Doesn't usually go well because he doesn't have great bend. But again, he got great hand fighting. I think he knows how to string moves together really well. As a pass rusher, I think he's a very aggressive run stopper, which happened to work out for him really well in college. I don't know how well that translates, and that's one of my concerns with him being kind of over-aggressive in the run game with kind of a smaller, not necessarily frame, but length issues, I guess you could say. But I just think he's a great fit for the Lions because he's that high motor guy. They don't care about length. They don't really care about age. They just want to get guys that want to go, and he is that guy. So I loved how explosive he looked and just crazy freaky he looked at the combine. I think it helped his stock enough to where I think he's appropriately placed for most people now. But I'm a big fan of his game. I don't know if I would necessarily take him myself, but I'm definitely going to watch him his entire career. I think he's going to be one of those guys that isn't necessarily an all-pro or a Pro Bowler, but he's going to be a journeyman that might hop from team to team, but he's always going to be a contributor. He's always going to be on a team and working, and he's going to have a nice long career. I'm excited to watch him.
Yeah, I second everything. I think he's got a little bit of play strength issues, and I don't know if that stems from a lack of length or whatever. But yeah, I agree with everything you're saying about the high motor, pass rush ability. All of that stuff is going to keep him employed for a while.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's move to our tier 2 of edge guys. Do you have any?
I'm putting the guy we mentioned earlier. I'm taking Adisa Isaac and running.
Cop out.
No, but Adisa Isaac's funny because when I was first trying to watch Chop, he kept popping, and I finally had to just write his number down. So I got to get back to this guy. I don't know who he is, but I got to go back and watch like him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's so consistent. Like he's not going to flash or do anything like extremely well, but if he can find your weak spot, he's gonna hammer it until it breaks. And that's what I noticed about him, because he didn't get a lot of run until day 3 at the Senior Bowl, but then day 3 at the Senior Bowl came around and he looked untouchable. Like whether it was one-on-ones, team drills, he was just beating everybody that lined up across from him. And it was just, again, he just figured out through the week what your weaknesses were and was just going. Like once he figures out who you are as a player, and that's where I can just tell, like even watching his film, like he studies a lot of film. He does a lot of research on his guys. He's very well prepared for games and game situations. And he's a very smart player, but he's just kind of, again, he was Chop's running mate. So it's always, you always run into that where it's like, if you have a top tier guy with you, you're always going to be like 2 tiers below no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very, very rare circumstances. Like we were talking about with LSU tackles. But I love his game because, again, just very consistent, has a good pass rush plan, has a nice wide toolbox, and just knows when to deploy certain moves. And he's just very nuanced and fun to watch for me, just from a technical perspective.
Incredibly savvy player. 100% agree. Like he's not the most athletic, not the most physically imposing, but he wins with his brain. And you've really got to respect it, because sometimes he'll dip under things or chase a blocker, or he does some really fun stuff on film. I agree with that. I want to talk about Chris Braswell because I don't think he's getting enough love. I think his biggest problem on film was consistency, but he's got the power, he's got the length, he's got the size to play like a 4-3 edge if you want him to, but he stood up a bunch at Bama. I think he can do a lot more. He even dropped in coverage a bunch. I think Braswell's going a little underrated right now. I think I have him as an early 2nd round player. Big fan of Chris Braswell.
Hey, again, he's falling under the.
I was about to say,
yeah,
he might be falling under the same kind of Dallas Turner kind of deal. So yeah, good call on that. I didn't even think about that while I was saying it.
It's always classes where there's 2 guys coming out where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna watch the second guy first, because that guy always goes underrated, and that guy's always the technician. I don't know why. I don't know why it works like that. But there's always like the freaky athlete dude that's just gonna do crazy shit all the time. Mm-hmm. And then there's his running mate who's just like either a big brain guy, he's got a nice toolbox and just knows how to chain stuff together, or he's like the really strong guy to your speed guy, or vice versa. Like he's always the complement, and that's where it's fun to watch them together, but it's also fun to break down their game individually and be like, oh, the second guy usually is more well-rounded than the first. So
like personally, if I were building the team, I wouldn't want Dallas Turner. I would want Chris Braswell.
Yeah. I'm right there.
So let's move, because imagine this. We got together and we're running close to an hour already. we still have questions and stuff from the listeners to get.
Who would have thought?
Let's get through some day 3 guys. Let's just go your favorite day 3 tackle.
This day 3, it's a bunch of like really high ceiling below floor, or really high floor below ceiling guys to me.
Yep.
But I picked the guy whose name I can't say. The tackle out of Pitt, Matt Goncalves. Yeah. I think
all right.
He's one of, and so this is where I lean into like just my preference of guys, where I'm a high floor guy, not a high ceiling guy. Like obviously you want both, but if I'm picking, I'm taking the high floor guy, and I feel like he's a guy that's probably never going to be like a long-term starter on a team, but he's going to be a guy that teams are going to like, oh, don't take my guy, don't steal this guy in for agency. Don't take this. Like we want to keep him on our team. He's high quality depth. I think he's got guard tackle flexibility. He's a very consistent player. He does what he does well, very well, but then there's things he doesn't do well, and you can tell he's aware of it and tries to avoid it at all costs. But I think he's a very consistent, and he's very good at what he can do. Like I think he's a very steady run blocker. I think he's very good at reacting to pass rush moves. However, I think you can bend the edge on him very well. But if he's able to stop you with that outside hand and force you inside, and he can just turn into a run block, which you can see on this film, he tries to do all the freaking time. He'll just stop you outside and then run block you. And so if he's able to do that, he's very, very good. But I worry about him again, as a tackle in the NFL, that's where I talk about. I mean, that's the guy I'd love to have as my 6th, 7th man, where I can come in if a guy's injured for a couple of games and play guard or tackle. I think he's kind of like the Fisk, where he's going to be in the league for a while, but he's probably never going to ever be a name that you're hearing all the time.
All right. I haven't watched Matt Goncalves yet. Goncalves. So yeah, I'm going to take your word for it, Parker, until I watch him. I want to talk about Caden Wallace from Penn State. Their right tackle, kind of a bit of the little brother syndrome here as well, with its possible top 10 teammate. He's really good. He tested like an athlete, or he tested like an athlete. He tested extremely well. It was like a 9.6 or something RAS score. It pops on film, man. He pops out of his stance. He's got good strength, good power. Just technically needs to clean a lot up. And it's kind of weird. The reason he's a day 3 guy is because he's been starting for like 4 years, and it looks like it's still his first season starting.
Hasn't really improved a lot.
Yeah, not a lot of growth. So I guess one of those things you kind of have to question is his motivation. Like, why? Are you motivated to continue playing football and want to be like a starting right tackle? Because he has all the physical ability to do it. It's just I didn't see any of it on film, and I really want to. Like, I'm rooting for him. Like, I want you to turn these tools, because like him run blocking and stuff, like I know a lot of people knock Olu for not being like a finisher or whatnot. That's exactly what Caden Wallace is. So I am a big fan of his upside, and I really want to see him go to a situation like Green Bay or Philadelphia or somebody that's gonna like coach him upright and turn him into the player I think he can be.
I mean, while we're talking about little brothers, I mean, Caden Wallace and Blake Fisher are very close. I think they're borderline day 2, day 3 guys. And again, same issues. They're just not fully developed, but they have the potential. So it's like, do I think I can get that out of you or not?
Yeah, I actually had Blake Fisher as a borderline day 3 guy. Like, I think he could very well sneak into day 2.
I agree.
All right, day 3 interior offensive lineman. Who you got?
Kingsley Aguilacan out of Florida.
Ooh, I haven't watched him yet. Tell me.
I watched a game of him because I realized he was on the Senior Bowl roster, and I had no idea who the hell he was.
Okay.
And I watched this film, and I was like, "Oh, he's really strong." Like, I don't really like. He's kind of a little more slow, a little more robotic. You know, he's kind of doesn't look very comfortable. But I'm like, he's got the potential. I can see it. I can see why he's down here. And then watching him play guard and center, again, versatility is key. I think he's got it. I think he commands your offensive line when he's at the center position. And he looked like a vet out there, which was kind of intrigued me. So I just watched him throughout the week, and he's freaking strong, dude. Like, he's lifting dudes up, and he'll just run you into the ground. Like, he's crazy, but he's very limited athletically. Like, he is not a side-to-side guy. He's I'm going to go to the slide side, stick to your hip, and hope we don't get a crazy stunt coming at us. But I do love him as like a jumbo set 6 man, or again as a backup guard center where he can just get in there and just punish dudes. And that's where I think the really base of his game is. He's got to get more athletic laterally. But I love his upside. I love what he could do because it looks like he has the savvy, he has the confidence, he has the leadership ability, he had that leadership role. So I think he's got the upside. I have no idea where his floor is. Like, no idea at all.
Okay. And he faced a lot of injury, right? Like, I think part of the reason I haven't been able to watch him is because he's only
hard to find.
Yeah, started a handful of games this year. So, yeah, good call out on that. I want to talk about Jared Kingston from USC.
Nice.
I noticed him 2 years ago doing my evaluation of Abraham Lucas because he was Wazoo's left guard. He moved to left tackle in 22, and then he transferred to USC this past year to block for Caleb Williams. He played 4 positions at USC. Yes, I don't know what they were doing. I don't know if they were rotating guys in and out, if they had a bunch of injuries, or what was happening. But Kingston played everywhere from left guard to right. Like, he might have not played center. I think he might have played 3 positions. I don't want to get ahead of myself. But I think he could play 5 positions.
Well, you can tell, like, he was the guy. Like he was like,
Yeah.
we need somebody here. It's him. Just put him there. We'll figure it out.
Well, Jonah Monheim is their left tackle, and he held that down the entire season. But every other position, that was Kingston's to fill in for a game. Sure. So it's hard. Like, I know a lot of people are probably like, well, he played a bunch of different positions. Maybe he's just not good at one. He's good on the left side. He's good as a left guard when I noticed him 2 years ago. He's just able to play all these positions. I think that speaks to his intelligence. It speaks to his teammanship. Like he's a team. Like he's a phenomenal teammate if he's just playing whatever they need him to. Yeah, I forgot where I was going with this, but he's got play strength. He's got grip strength. He's played in air raid schemes. He's played in gap schemes. He's played in zone schemes. He's done just about everything. I was so surprised when he tested like a 96th percentile athlete, to be honest with you. I was like, what? All this stuff I'm seeing on film is justified? So I can't believe nobody's really talking about him. I think there's just another one of these general consensuses because Caleb Williams held on to the ball. The running back didn't know where the running lanes were. Wide receivers would give up on routes. They, like I said, rotated guys in and out all the time. There was never any consistency on that offensive line. No wonder they struggled. But if there was one, besides Jonah Monheim, if there was one other consistent piece, it was Kingston. And I personally would take him in the 4th round. He checks so many boxes for me. Like, I would take him so much earlier than he's probably going to go. But I would pound the table for Jarrett Kingston. He's one of my favorite players in this draft.
He's one of those guys where it's just like, I don't feel like taking him day 1 or 2 because I don't love him. But it's like it's first pick on day 3. He's up. Like it's ready to go right now.
Yeah. Yep. 100%.
You're gonna get Bengals fans excited talking about him playing left guard, buddy.
I think he would be the perfect 6th man. I think he could play left tackle, left guard. I think he could play either tackle in a pinch. I think he could play either guard. And I would, if I were the Bengals, I would train him at center this season.
Or replace Sharping.
Yeah, he can. Yeah, he can take all of your backup spots, and if you can teach him to snap, like he can take Sharping's spot. Like he would be the perfect candidate for that.
I love it.
Let's move on to day 3, interior defensive lineman.
Evan Anderson, FAU.
Okay, I haven't watched any of them.
Big body nose tackle that is just strong as hell.
Big boy.
Yeah, he'll punch dudes. I'm surprised you haven't found him. I found a big fella you don't know about.
I don't have any FAU tape.
That's valid. I had to talk to a lot of people to find a game of him. But then I got the Shrine Bowl footage, and he looked like he looked like he did not belong at the Shrine Bowl.
Yeah.
So that automatically just like, oh, you gotta look at this guy. Just kind of like Mahogany, who we haven't talked about, but kind of the same thing where it's like these guys are better than everybody else here. And then getting into his film, he's not obviously a crazy athlete. He's a nose, but he's one of those noses that's athletic enough where you can put him on the field. And I don't think he's too big, kind of like with all the T'Vondre Sweat, Jordan Davis style concerns where it's like, how many reps can this guy get? I think this guy could really be a DJ Raider type where you can have him on the field all game. And I think he can handle that. He can handle that workload, and he can also be a very effective and efficient player for you because he's great against the run. He obviously doesn't have a lot of great pass rush moves as a nose, but he's a pocket pusher and a half. Like he's the typical nose tackle you want to see in the NFL. And so I'm a big fan of my man Evan Anderson.
Cool. I don't really have like these day 3 guys. I'm not. Let's go with Marcus Harris. I want to talk about Marcus Harris from Auburn. He's a smaller guy.
I haven't watched him.
He's a stack and shed king. I've watched him. They have Auburn has 2 guys, Justin Rogers and Marcus Harris. Justin Rogers is a big old boy too. Yeah. But yeah, Marcus Harris, 3 tech, gap shooting, just a absolute menace. He blew up so much stuff for the Auburn Tigers. He's a little bit length deficient. I don't think he tested extremely well either, but his film pops a lot more than his athletic testing, in my opinion. So yeah, big fan of Marcus Harris. He was a Senior Bowl guy too, right?
That name sounds really familiar, but watching the D line, I was constantly looking at my roster. I had no idea because all the numbers change. I'm not good with faces. I'm an O line guy in season. I'm going to be much better prepared next year. I'll tell you
that. All right. You got any day 3 edges?
Yeah, I'm going to cheat and use Brandon Dorless.
Oh, okay. Might not even go day 3.
Yeah, no. But he's kind of like the final guy that he's probably going to end up as an edge. He's considered a tweener, I think, but I think he's a better edge player than interior player. I think he gets stopped by power too often. But if you allow him to get on an island with whether it's a guard or a tackle, he's just able to do some really fun things with his hands. And so I'm just like, he's a guy again, third down, just throw him in there, let him go crazy.
All right.
You know how Oregon plays. You know how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have any day 3 edges I want to promote. I do just want to, on the record, say that Jonah Ellis is going in day 3 if he gets drafted at all.
Oh, that's a hot take. That's a hot take.
He's tiny.
I don't like his film, and he's small. So I'm there.
Well, I like his pass rush, but I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as effective in the NFL.
Well, you put his tape next to literally any edge we've talked about in this little podcast here. He looks like a UFL player. Like he doesn't have the explosiveness. He doesn't have the size. He doesn't have the crazy length. Like he's got an immense toolbox. Like he's got pass rush up the ass.
Absolutely,
he uses all of it. He uses every single one of them.
I think his inside spin is pretty nasty. He's got a pretty good inside spin.
He's a technician for sure. But yeah,
I'm gonna pull up some questions here, Parker, that our listeners sent in.
Gotta start with Mike's.
Mike, as in Mike Checkbart at Bengal Sands.
Heard of
that guy? Okay. Between the two of you, how many Cholitos could you put down in a 90-minute period? Ooh. Are they spaghetti-filled Cholitos?
So that's what I replied to him before I came on. I've only had one type of Cholito. Well, that's not
okay.
I've had two. I've had the airport Cholito, which I would not recommend having a Cholito in an airport unless
is that the breakfast one?
No, it wasn't what I expected. I don't know what was in it. Okay. I'm not going to have another one. My second one, we were stuck in a mall because we didn't want to go to the airport forever early, but we had to check out, and it was just this whole thing. So we were in some mall in, I think, Kentucky. I don't know where we were.
It's probably a Florence Mall.
It wasn't. It was
Florence, y'all.
It was anyway. Not good. That was a rough experience, but I had a Cholito from I think it was Gold Star.
Oh, and no.
It was a vegan Cholito. And that did horrible things to my
How many vegan Cholitos could you eat in 90 minutes?
You should not eat one of those in a week. But so I don't feel like I'm well equipped to handle this question. However, I do want to say when I come to Cincinnati this year, I'm having a Cholito with nudes because ever since you told me that was a thing, I need it in my body. So, well, you can answer the question, Jared. Go crazy.
Well, if I'm going for just quantity, I'm getting no noodles, obviously. I think I could probably house in 90 minutes. Man, I want to say I could do like 30 of them. Oh. I think I could eat like 30 Cholitos in 90 minutes. I don't know. That seems like a lot.
How big is like an actual Cholito?
They're not big. They're not. It's just like it's basically how many tortillas smothered in chili could you eat?
Is this like a McDonald's breakfast burrito? We're just
yeah. Okay. That's why it's better to get noodles in it because at least it has some substance.
So it sounds like we have to do this challenge then, Jared. Is what I'm hearing.
I'm not eating as many Cholitos as we'd have to
30 Cholitos.
I'm not paying for.
That's valid. Anyway,
all right. So let's get back to our question from Who Day Disc Dad at Ryan Do Sparks. I like Ryando.
Brando.
Why isn't there more interest in Javon Foster? A guy performed well in a tough conference, but is considered a day 3 guy.
Limited athletic profile and length issues is what I would have to jump out and say off the top of my head.
Yep, I would agree with that. Big lumbering guy, older prospect. Not a lot of refined technique for a guy that's played a bunch at Missouri. So that's probably why. From Joel Chandler at Bengal Scout Joe.
Oh, man.
Guys, I don't see it with Mekhi Wingo and Marshawn Nealon. What am I missing? I'm missing Western Michigan film. So
Marshawn Nealon's a monster. A monster.
Okay. All right. What's he missing with him?
I like him better at 3 tech. So I think a lot of people are evaluating him as an edge. I think he's got crazy power as an edge defender, like too much power for an edge defender and limited pass rush ability. But then you put him as a 3 tech and he's just a freak athlete and he's going to out athlete every guard he's going to go against. And then when he gets tired of out athleting you and you're ready for the speed, he's just going to hit you in the chest and scare the hell out of you. So just a monster, just a monster.
Joe, that's what you're missing. You're missing a Parker Blake breakdown.
Yes,
Mekhi Wingo, go back and watch his 22 film. Don't watch his 23 film. Go watch his 22 film. Actually, watch the Florida State game. There's a lot of good flashes in there, but then go back and watch his 22 film. All right, who they know it all? Obviously, he doesn't know it all if he's asking us questions. How do the Bengals handle the run-stopping DT this offseason? Do they go nose tackle or change schemes up and not have a space eater to stop the run? I actually think that is probably the most likely solution, just to kind of throw bodies at the problem. They're probably going to have a very heavy rotation of D linemen. I wouldn't be surprised if they pick up 2 guys in the draft and sign Josh Tupou at this point. They'll probably get a big-bodied run stopper and a 3 technique for when BJ Hill and Sheldon Rankins are gone.
I have been advocating for an 8 to 9 man rotation for like 3 years now. And I think we saw last year they can get to 9, and you could argue they could have had at least 11 wins with 0 run defense whatsoever and bad tackling on the back end. So I say just get after the passer, man. You don't really – I know you're in the AFC North and you got to have it. You got Derrick Henry and you got that. Just go get the passer, because what has beaten you in literally every game you lost last year? I think there was 1 or 2 where the run game was a real problem, but the rest of them, I mean, go back and watch the Texans game. If you can make Stroud actually move out of the pocket instead of just stand there for 4 hours, you probably win that Texans game. But he had all day in the backfield. DJ Reader was probably your 2nd or 3rd best pass rusher, and that should not be the case on any NFL team. Out of your nose, so just go get pass rushers and go crazy. Just get freaky athletes and get after it.
All right, there you go.
Here for it.
All right, from Nuke Z, will the Bengals likely have to trade up if they want Sweat? They're not trading up.
Would they have to? Would they have to?
I don't think so.
I see him as a day 3 guy, but no one likes that take.
I don't like that take. You better knock that shit off right now. All right. They actually
not day 3, 3rd round. I lied. 3rd round, not day 3. I said
okay, thank you. That's better. That's better. I was about to slap you through the computer here. Oh shit! I was gonna add a caveat to that, but I don't even remember what we were talking about now. Oh, they might trade up. I don't think they'll trade up in the first round, but they might do a little bit of movement in the later rounds with all of their extra packs.
All them extra packs.
So I don't think they'll move up for Sweat, but I think they'll move up for maybe somebody in like the 3rd or 4th round.
I think if they really want him to take him at 49, he'll be there.
Yeah. All right, from UK Cincinnati fan, with 10 picks in 7 rounds and not enough space on the roster, which mid-round guys would you trade up for? That was a perfect segue. What guys would I trade up for? I would trade up for Brandon Coleman. If he starts sliding in the 3rd round, I would trade up for him. I was having an argument with somebody on Twitter yesterday about drafting Rosengarten and Coleman on day 2. But I don't think people realize how flexible Coleman he's probably 4-position flexible.
He can play
And
both
another
tackles
thing,
and guards, dude. Like it's
yeah, and I went back and watched like our film room that we did on him and stuff like that. Like he was
where we
so much
projected him
better.
as a guard and they bumped him inside the guard.
Well, and then their tackle got hurt and he had
Yep.
to play left tackle all
Back
year.
out. Yep.
Yeah, and he was hurt the entire year, so his season looked atrocious. But like he had like very solid day 2 tape last year if he had decided to come out. And I think if it were me, and you know me, I'm a gambling man. If he starts sliding in round 2, and like you've already picked, or in round 3, and you've already picked at 80, like you've already got like your running back or your receiver or tight end or whatever the fuck everybody else wants, and you start seeing him kind of slide, I would fucking go up and get him. And you could probably, I don't know, trade the 4th and like a 6th and keep your 97. Have 3 third-round picks. I don't care. Do something wild, Duke.
Do something. He's
Fix
got the thick braids, the little short braids that hide in his helmet. And he looks like a little turtle with his helmet off, and then he rocks the collar. I'm here for it. I love the aesthetic and I love the versatility. I'm bought in.
Yeah. I love Brandon Coleman. He's one of my guys.
I'm worried that they're gonna have to trade up for Rosengarten, so that'd be my answer. Not that you asked.
Okay, I would be down with that. I would be down with that because I've been tooting that fucking horn for. but everybody like, oh, such a bad move. Like, oh,
did you watch the Michigan game?
I drafted him in the 4th round on my simulator.
Old man yells at clouds.
All right, so Gavin at Down Devastating. He's asking us who is the Hubbard replacement in this draft, if there is one, not necessarily replacing the number of snaps, but the player type. It's in the team's best interest to save $9.5 million on the cap, letting him go next offseason. I don't think that's happening because everybody loves Sam Hubbard. He's just a swell guy. I wouldn't worry about replacing him this draft. If you've listened to any part of this podcast where we've mentioned edge rushers,
not here for that.
You want
another is it's I was gonna say it's Jared Verse or Chris Braswell. They're not taking either of those guys. So
yeah, no, I'd probably pull a little bit of hair out if they drafted an edge this draft before the 5th round.
I don't want a 5th round edge, Jared.
Better than a kicker.
Well, did you see that? Did you see the mock on The Athletic where they took Torrey Taylor in like the 7th?
Mm-hmm. We're not going to talk about that. Ugh.
Stop drafting punters.
Stop. Anyway. No, people that kick football should not be drafted.
But Evan McPherson.
I'm just waiting for somebody to be like, well, here's a video of Devondre Sweat punting a football after one of his touchdowns.
Oh, he does the Heisman. He ain't punting. That takes a lot of movement.
Kicker.
Oh, man.
What else you got, Parker? Anything else?
I'm trying to think. Oh, not trench related, but I've pounded the table for this guy pretty much since was it mid-January, and I don't understand how his stock isn't rising. But Nathaniel Watson, the linebacker out of Mississippi State,
okay,
I would like him to be a Bengal.
All right.
Just pull up his stats and compare them to any other linebacker that's come out of college, and then pull up his last 2 years of stats and compare that to any linebacker that's ever come out of college, and tell me he's not a 1st rounder.
I don't like stats.
You like meat.
I do. I like meat and film.
Meat and film.
I like film of meat.
I also want to say, are you excited to watch this Florida kid or next year, or are we out on that already?
Oh, Des Watson?
Yes, sir.
I've already watched enough of him.
You need to watch a game of him, maybe, and you know what he's got.
I think the only thing that would change my opinion of him is if he went through a drastic body transformation.
What's he at right now? Like 440, 460?
Somebody said he was floating around 450 this spring. I don't remember where I saw that. I was like, that's not what? There's no way.
He's fun to watch like the first 4 or 5 plays. And then
Yeah.
It's like, dude.
Yeah. All right. We get it. You should watch Cameron Jackson from Florida. He's the nose tackle that you should be paying attention to.
And Princely Umaman that transferred to Ole Miss.
I was about to say, went to Ole Miss. Yep.
So
it's pronounced Umamielen.
that's what I said.
I don't know.
I hate typing that name out.
That's a rough one. I don't know why I'm such a stickler for pronunciations. I don't know where it came from, but I'm always like, how do you say that? I'm pretty sure it's Talise Fuanga.
It's Talisa Fuanga, yes.
Yeah, Fuanga.
And it's Kingsley Suamataia.
Yeah, yep. Yeah,
I posted a pronunciation guide because I couldn't listen to any more of these podcasts.
It's the Polynesian guys, man. It's all of the syllables.
You say all of the syllables, and then an A and a G makes an N sound.
Yeah,
like Tungo Vailoa, Fuanga.
Yeah. My stupid Kentucky tongue can't do it.
I regret buying you that shirt.
Kentucky. Coach Cal. Coach Cal's my favorite.
Oh, this is the worst year of Kentucky basketball I've seen in a long time.
I wish I knew. I used to know more UK fight songs and stuff to where I could be more obnoxious, but not anymore.
Next pod.
All right, let's get out of here, Parker. This was awesome. I love talking ball with you.
I love chatting with you, man. It's good hanging out. I hope the people enjoy some of it. I hope you don't edit it too much because that's a pain in the ass.
I'm not going to. It's going raw, dude. It's going raw straight to the ears and eyes of the people.
Beautiful.
Don't give them the fit. Oh my god. I hope that one wasn't raw. All right, we need to stop.
Right, that's the line.
Everybody have a good day. Bye.